In an effort to make progress in the ongoing standoff over the debt ceiling, Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy will head to the White House on Wednesday for a face-to-face meeting with President Biden. The Biden administration is seeking to raise the country's borrowing limit and has said it will not negotiate with Republicans seeking spending cuts. But with our nation now more than $31 trillion in debt, if we don't have the conversation now, when, if ever, will we have it? Joining me now to discuss this is Congressman Jason Smith. He's the newly appointed chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee. He also serves on the House Budget Committee. He represents the 8th Congressional District of Missouri. Congressman Smith, welcome to Washington Watch.
It's great to be with you, Tony. Thanks for having me.
Before we get into discussing the debt ceiling, let me congratulate you on your new position as chairman of the House Ways and Means Committee. And let me just ask you, what do you hope to accomplish as the chairman of this important committee?
You know, our priority is to make sure that we are delivering for working class families, farmers, small businesses, the American worker. And we need to do that to make sure that the tax code, trade policies are there to help them. It's all about delivering for the working class families. That's who's a lot of times overlooked in Washington. That needs to be the first priority. In fact, the very first committee hearing that I'm doing is a filled hearing a week from today in West Virginia, because I want to hear from real Americans about the issues that they're facing with the current economy and how members of Congress and the Ways and Means Committee can help adjust the tax code to make their lives better.
Aren't they the ones that generally carry the weight of the tax system in our country? That they're working, they're the ones paying the taxes.
Those small businesses, those working families, the American worker, they're the ones that keep this economy running. We need to make sure that Washington policies are the policies that help them, not the policies that's being pushed by a lot of those politically connected individuals that are walking the halls in Washington, D.C. That's why we need to go outside of Washington, D.C. and talk to real Americans so we can hear firsthand of the problems.
I like that. I think we need to get out there more often. That's why I go, like many members of Congress, I'm home back in Louisiana every week to hear from folks in the real world. So let me switch gears, Mr. Chairman. I want to move to this issue of the debt ceiling. The Biden administration, from day one said, we're not negotiating. You're either going to raise it, that's what you got to do. But now we see that Speaker McCarthy is going to be meeting on Wednesday with the president. Does that indicate that they may be changing their tune a bit?
I would hope to think so. We are in divided government. The Republicans control the House of Representatives, Democrats control the Senate, and of course, Joe Biden's in the White House. So that means that you have to work together. For President Biden and Chuck Schumer to say that they will not negotiate and not work, that's craziness. Look at this, Tony. The 8 most substantial fiscal reforms ever in the history of the United States were all tied to the debt limit. That is typically what happens. If we do not address this fiscal insanity now, we're just postponing another debt crisis, and we cannot do that. $31 trillion, we need to get serious about what is causing this spending, and let's try to do something about it.
That's what I say. If you don't have the conversation now, when would you have it?
They won't. Put it this way, just over a year ago, we had the largest increase of the debt limit ever. And what did one-party Democrat rule did? They increased spending by $10 trillion. $10 trillion. It was a record ever. And what did every American get for it? They got the highest inflation in 40 years. They got checks to federal prisoners. They got ski resorts in Iowa. They got parking lots at beaches in South Carolina. Such wasteful spending. Those are the things that need to be cut. And that's what we need to be looking into, not cutting programs that are important to working class families like Social Security and Medicare.
Let me ask you about that. Let me ask you about that, because that's what the administration has said, that the Republicans want to cut Social Security, Medicare. I want to ask you, is that on the table?
That is absolutely not on the table, Tony. They are just trying fear-mongering, scare tactics. Social Security and Medicare is within the Ways and Means Committee, which I'm chairman of. I can tell you right now, it is not on the table. We will not be cutting Social Security. We will not be cutting Medicare. It is not part of any of the conversations. It's just a bunch of fear mongering going by Joe Biden.
Now, you have also some of the administration that, well, I played a clip at the top of the program from the Democratic leader in the Senate saying the MAGA Republicans have, they're holding the economy hostage and they're willing to, I'm putting words in his mouth, but essentially willing to kill the hostage. That you're not willing to sit down and be reasonable about this. But I've not heard anybody in the leadership of the Republican Party say we're going to shut down government.
No Republican wants a default. No Republican is saying that they're not going to negotiate. The only people that says that they're not willing to negotiate is Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer. We're asking them to come to the table. Let's figure it out. And let's accomplish something. We have to address this fiscal insanity. That's all we're asking. Republicans and Democrats have to come together. They have to work together in order to get anything accomplished in divided government. We can't just say, no, we're not going to do it. That's not how it works. And that's not how our founding fathers set up the system.
So Chairman Smith, what are some specifics? What are the Republicans putting on the table as ways to rein in this wild spending spree that the government has been on?
There's numerous examples of where you can look at it. If you look back in 2011, they had budget caps, capping how much discretionary spending. That could be a possibility. They look at we could cut hundreds of billions of dollars. We could pull back hundreds of billions of dollars of prior COVID money that's still out there. There's so much waste in our government, Tony. I can go line by line, but let's do something. That's what we're asking. We have to do something. If it's baby steps, Tony, let's just do something, because the reason why we have record inflation is because of reckless government spending. Mm-hmm. Let's stop it. And I think that should be a bipartisan approach.
I would think it's about time with $31 trillion in debt. Final question for you, Chairman Smith. Are the Republicans unified going forward, saying we're going to have some fiscal responsibility?
I think so. We started out a little bit interesting and rocky for the first week, but I think our party is now stronger than ever before. We had some growing pains getting the majority, but I think that has made us where we can push and be much stronger. And we all know that reckless spending has led to record cost of goods being increased, and it has led to the Federal Reserve continuing to raise interest rates that's now causing home mortgages to go up. So it's hurting working class Americans, small businesses, and families. We need to get reckless spending under control.
I would definitely agree with you on both points that we need to get under control, but I also think that what I see in my conversations that Republicans are now more unified, having gone through that exercise at the beginning of the 118th Congress. Chairman Smith, thank you so much for taking time to join us today. Look forward to talking to you in the future as you get our spending, or help get our spending under control.
Take care, Tony. Thank you for having me, sir.